I am so excited. Oh my goodness, you guys. Welcome back to Tony's Tenacious Table Talk. You all know how I am. You know my personality. And my guest today, I am humbly excited to have in my studio a woman who I really can't say enough about. Her name is Dr. Marcia Burnett Whitaker. And that's with one K, okay? 2 T's, 1 K. Dr. Whitaker has so many successes that I can tell you about, but today's platform belongs to my guest. Tony is showcasing my sister. We're going to unpack and unveil the many successes that she has been able to accomplish. Now, I want you all to get ready for the title of today's show. You think they're ready?
I don't know. I'm ready. Let's go.
And it is, and you're going to unpack it. But it's 5 things that women have the okay to kill.
Okay, I like it.
You like
love it.
that?
I love it, actually. Yes.
5 things that women should kill to reach their destiny. And with that, I know you've killed some things. There's no way that Forbes magazine gave you recognition, that USA Today gave you recognition, that CBS, I hope you guys are listening, gave you recognition, that NBC gave you recognition, and even today, and I'm humbled about it, to have a woman of your stature and of your caliber on my platform. When I was going through social media and I came across your name, it just mesmerized me. And you guys are probably thinking, I was mesmerized because of my sister's outward beauty. And she has all of that. So that can mesmerize you. But I went in and I began to read the texts and the messages and the platforms where Dr. Marcia was putting out her tenacity into the lives of women. So without any further delay, I don't need to talk. What, if you can think about what inspired you to begin to hone in on that you have a voice, you have a platform to matter to women, to make a difference in their lives.
Wow.
It's probably taking you back.
It is. And first I want to say thank you, Tony, for inviting me. And just hearing the introduction, it's overwhelming for me because I didn't start out this way. I didn't start out, looking to go and get into Forbes, to USA Today, any of the platforms. And the question was, how did it happen? And it was birthed out of my struggle. It was birthed out of me being on mute. It was birthed out of me realizing I was living underneath of my potential. And me finally saying the pain, when we come out of our comfort zone, there's pain, right? But then there's also the pain of not achieving what you have been called here to do. And that pain was greater than the pain of me being uncomfortable, stepping out of my comfort zone.
Wow. That's saying something. That's a lot. Wow. Yeah. So that propelled you.
Yeah.
It sounds like to me, just looking at and accepting the reality that you were having some significant struggles, some challenges.
Yeah.
That resulted in some real pain in your life. But you were like, wait a minute. Your vision, I know you had that vision, sister. You just reached beyond and your eyes were affixed on what was.
Well, actually, you know what? That's how I am now. But I'm going to go back.
Okay.
And it's kind of pretty much what I mentioned at first, but I couldn't sit in the pain of where I was anymore. I did not know what was on the other side. I knew it had to be great because God says it's great. He says your ladder will be greater, right? But
That's
because we can't see it, we can't put our hand on it, and we have to have faith that it's there. But again, it's kind of like the Israelites in the Red Sea, right? They didn't want to go out into the water, but when they turned around and they saw they were being chased, they were like, you know what? We going in the water, right?
God.
And so I had to be okay making a decision in that moment to go into the and and that moment replays itself multiple times per day, every day.
Wow. You got in the water. And I would imagine that when you decided to get in the water, you knew you were going to try to swim, but you didn't know whether you would get to the other side.
Nope.
And if so, when you would get to the other side.
Yep.
And when you got there, what it would be like.
Absolutely.
I can relate to that because it makes me reflect on one of my own struggles, which was comparing myself to other people. And specifically to that point that you just made, what was God going to require of me once I got to the other side? How was I going to have to change? Was my circle of influence, sisterhood, was that going to have to change? So I believe that's what you're talking about. I can relate to that.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Not only the good things, but what about the bad things, right? There's a saying that says, God won't tell you all of the steps because if you knew, you wouldn't do it. Because there's going to be some days where I wasn't I wasn't girl boss. I was a woman who was broken, who didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow, who folks cut me off because of who I was no longer associated with. Okay, who they didn't understand my journey. They didn't understand, why I was doing this. Why am I doing that? But in that, there's also those few that stood by me that were like, you know what, I'm here. I'm here to help you.
That's it.
Let's keep going. And so, when you get ready to step out, you're going to have to break away.
You know what? That's a tenacious moment for me. And I want to zero in on a word that you used, Dr. Marcia, and you said brokenness. Now, when I look at you, that's not what I see. So it makes me appreciate even all the more when you're able to verbalize that you are who you are in this moment today because you have been a broken woman. Yeah. Which directs us towards a phenomenal question. What is it that is amongst the various platforms that you've been blessed with? Girl boss.
Yes, we love that one.
That's it. That's it. You have branded that. So what is it on that platform and all the other ones that you focus on, that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt is reaching the brokenness in women? Because let's fess up, we've all been broken. We all will experience more brokenness. But I'm so glad to be aligned with a woman of your caliber who I know decided to birth out the goodness out of her stories. Not one story, but her stories of brokenness. And you don't have to air out your entire life, but if there's something that you're definitely comfortable with sharing, a time that you know you were devastated. It's like, I got to get out of this brokenness. There's not knowing that there was going to be some rebirth coming out of it, but
so that's good. And I'm going to say, first of all, that the brokenness, we don't see brokenness, but we see the symptoms and the manifestation of brokenness. All right. And so it manifests as low self-esteem. Right. It manifests as maybe, having trouble with relationships, either being, what's the word? Very promiscuous, right? It manifests as weight gain. Okay. Body shaming. It manifests as depression. It manifests. I mean, I can go down all the lists. And, I'm a physician. And so I see these kinds of things, in a clinical setting. But what I noticed when I became I was a health coach first. And in my program, there's also a life coaching track. And once I tapped into the life coaching space, I was like, it was like eureka. We're trying to manage weight in blood pressure and diabetes. But the problem is over here in life. And we're focusing too much on the food because it's the way that we cover up the other things that have been broken. Right. And so that is where I start. And most women won't say, "Hey, I'm broken."
That's true.
They're saying, "You know what?
We will.
You know what? Maybe I'm
put that face on.
I'm trying to get a new job, and for some reason, I'm not being chosen." Okay. Or they say, "You know what? I'm getting out of a relationship, and I'm feeling, unworthy, or I'm feeling I'm just trying to get my feet on solid ground." Or they say some other things that they're not saying I'm broken. They're saying this is what's happening. And so if I can just quickly walk through some of the
take your time.
The big tickets in my life. One is that I grew up with a birthmark on my face. And what it did, it shattered my self-confidence. I thought it was ugly. I thought it was, that I was different, that I wasn't good enough. And that led me to a place where even in relationships, I dated the guys who liked me as opposed to the guys I liked. Okay.
I got that, sister.
Okay. All right. Fast forward, my parents were killed in a horrific car accident. They died together in the middle of the night. And
how old were you?
I was 30. And the week before they died, I felt a pull, like I need to see them. And I saw them a few days before they died. And it was one of those things like, okay, I'm glad I listened to and it wasn't an audible, it was just kind of like, I need to see them. And then I was in an emotionally abusive marriage because of what I learned from the birthmark, right? I went with the guy who liked me, who he could mold me, he could shape me, right?
You want me to get out of this seat? Go ahead.
Right. So, and there's multiple things, but those are the high points of how I got to the place where I could not stay here any longer. And that's what I help women who are saying, you know what, I've done that already. I don't know how to get out of here, but I need help.
And in your area, your clinical area as a physician is what?
Internal medicine.
Look at that. Right? That's why you're talking about high blood pressure.
Yes.
And diabetes.
Yes.
And all the things, the symptoms.
Yes.
That really are masks, like you just said,
Absolutely,
behind our behaviors and
Yep.
the things that we reach for. You know, it's okay to perhaps have a glass of wine or something, but there's some people who struggle with drinking hardcore things every day because that's their go-to, that's their peace, that's their moment. There are people who struggle with food.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you, I enjoy food. And I say it to my husband all the time, who's producing right now, but I have to be mindful of that. Why am I eating? When am I eating? What am I eating? And how much of it? And what am I doing during the mealtime? Yeah. So I like that you made that point, that people just zero in on or live with the symptoms, and they seem to take more of a space in our lives than the real things that we should be working on. I'm proud of you being a physician.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
I like to say, for the internal medicine, I heal from the inside out. As a life coach, I heal from the inside out, but I deal with the mind as opposed to the body. But they're the same.
So see, just those two initiatives right there, there's a marriage. That's what I hear in that. So you're dealing with the whole person.
Yeah.
And you realize that you can't, in order to have success in one area with an individual, you need to be looking at the outer and the inner.
Absolutely.
You can't, that piecemeal thing is just not going to do it. Go ahead, looks like you got something.
And the bigger way to say it is we are overnourished with food. Okay, some people are overnourished with television. Okay, overnourished with their bank account. Okay,
Come on.
but we're undernourished in so many other areas. And when we step back and say, you know what, when was the last time I went to a play? You know, I had a client who, she started riding her bike once I suggested, you know what did you enjoy doing as a child? She said, I like to ride my bike with my dad. She went out and started riding her bike, and so many other things started to open up for her as she did that. When was the last time you did those? Maybe you like jumping rope. Maybe you like, martial arts.
Wow.
But what we do is that we kind of get limited to working and doing that one, running kids around.
Yes.
Maybe we're active at church and we're in the church every 5 seconds. Maybe that is. Maybe that's your story.
Did you say that? Did she say that?
Because I used to do that, right? But then the other parts, you hanging out with your friends. Maybe you go out. You need date night, right? Maybe you need that spa treatment. Maybe it's those things that we haven't prioritized, but it's part of a formula that we need to make sure we do.
Wow. And you're allowing me to do a little bit of introspection right now, because it's just as important to, if not more important, to spend time with yourself. So that when we appear in front of other people, we come correct.
Yeah.
And we come strong. And we come in a way that models what's in our heads and what's in our hearts. Everybody and their brother has a platform to empower. But how are we showing up? So I like what you said. You've given yourself permission, and you're telling the women whose lives you sow into, take time for you.
Yes.
I appreciate your sharing the hardship of losing your parents, the hardship of being in a broken marriage, the greatness, not the good, but the greatness is that you, by faith, honed in on, and you were at decision points, but you made decisions that you weren't going to stay there, that you were going to propel forward.
Yeah.
And not just for Dr. Marcia, but for thousands of other women around the universe.
Yeah.
You guys can go on any social media platform and witness the impact of Dr. Marcia with women around the globe, whether it's in a small setting with just or one-on-one, or if it's in a larger corporate setting. She's loving on the women. She's talking to them. She's laughing with them. She's crying with them. And most of all, she's sharing herself with who she is, which makes them all the more comfortable.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
To unleash themselves. You know, all people want, I know all I want as a woman of God, acknowledge me. Hear what I have to say. Don't judge by the shell. Because you lose out. Take a moment to get to know. So here's another question. When did you decide that you were going to birth in your first initiative? You've got a lot of initiatives, but when did you decide to create your first one? When did you know this is what I must do? I have to do this. My story's not just for me. I can't lay on that I don't have parents anymore. Mom and dad are proud of you, sis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew, even though medicine was my career, it wasn't necessarily my passion. Okay. And there are people who, you know, they're doing these passion projects. And they're like, oh yeah, this is for me. This is for me. I'm like, but what's mine? And I didn't know. And I spent years. I probably spent 10 years.
Wow.
Looking for it. And I also served as a pastor's wife. Wow. And what I noticed is that people would come to me, they would seek me out, I would help them, and they would leave free. They would leave released.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and I did women's conferences and other kind of sessions. And I'm like, you know what? This really fills me.
Yeah.
And I'm good at it. But I'm like, but how do you make money how do you make a living doing that? And I'm like, you don't. And so I keep doing what I was doing. And then all of a sudden counseling came to mind. But then when I went looking, I'm thinking, that's more schooling. I don't need to go to another university. Okay?
Another degree.
Another degree. We don't need another
I told
tuition
my husband
bill.
the other day, I'm going to go for my doctorate. I'm like, I scared him. I scared him.
Right. I've done enough, right? So then that's when I started, coaching came up. And every time I looked into coaching, it was health coaching. I'm thinking, okay, it makes sense. I'm a doctor. I'll be a health coach. And then, as I mentioned, life coaching was part of it. And they always say, you don't have to be perfect. You know, you just have to be a few steps ahead of the person that you're coaching. I'm like, okay, cool. But then I'm like, how am I, at the time I'm still married, how am I going to lead someone through their biggest hurdle if I haven't led or been led through my biggest hurdle? And so I had to take a step back and I had to say, you know what? Okay, I need to deal with this elephant right here.
Yeah.
And I hired a coach and we worked on an exit plan.
Okay.
And
wow.
It came to a point where that I had to pull that out and execute it. And it was only because I had been coached. For your own life. It was only because I had been coached. And so as I got through that process, I said, you know what? I don't want any woman to have to go through what I went through by herself. And a lot of times when we have women who have been divorced, they're divorced and quiet.
Yeah.
They're divorced and moving out of the area. They're divorced.
Trying to escape.
They're divorced, and now their voices are Minnie Mouses. You know, they're just they're still hiding. They're still living.
Wow.
Ooh, they're still living unhappily married.
Wow.
But you're divorced. And so and there was a moment where I had to say, you know what? I have some skills and I have a story. And I love the person who I was looking for was me. Now I'm here. Only thing I can say is like, hey, women, I'm here to help you. It may not be the troubled marriage, but it may be you just living underneath of your potential and you just don't know how to get big. My logo is for the Info Bloom Health and Life Coaching is a flower. And we live closed lives. But the point is that we are to live in full bloom. And so we have the petals have to open. We have to be seen. We have to step out and bloom and be beautiful.
You know what? Look at those flowers.
Ooh,
aren't they beautiful?
They are gorgeous. I love
They're
it.
bloomed. And I want to see you. I want to support you so that you're always blooming.
Yeah.
You have a new friend. I know you have many, but it's about aligning with persons who share your personal mission for life.
Yeah.
And when I looked at your social media platforms, I said, you know what? I got to get to know her. I could have been moved with, oh my gosh, she's got countless numbers of followers. I'll never get her. She's not going to contact me. But like you, I live by faith and I believe. And when he speaks to us, we better move out on it. I don't look for missed opportunities. I look to create opportunities.
No. I have to say this. One day I was on social media and I had mentioned something about my birthmark and I had moved on to the next thing. And I got a DM from a mom. And she says, my son has a birthmark just like yours. He's 8. He's being bullied. And he doesn't want to go outside to play. We just moved into a new neighborhood. And she was like, can you help me?
Oh, my God.
Help him. And she said she didn't know if I was going to respond to her. And just as you were saying that, I remember when you reached out, right? we have to be sensitive to, I'm going to call it the spirit, right?
Come on.
Sensitive to who's reaching out. And I think God gives us the, I'm not sure, what would you call it? There's a
I
word.
know where you're at. We got to be bold,
Sensitive.
courageous enough.
Yeah.
To answer the call,
Answer
to
the
respond.
call. Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
All these little voices that creep up in our heads and say, give us all the reasons not to contact.
Yeah.
We need to trash that. Delete.
Exactly.
Right?
Because you never know who's on the other side.
No.
And you never know how you can help them, what they're in need of. And then the other piece is you never know how they're going to bless you.
That's it.
If you never say, okay, you never have a conversation.
Yeah. I love
then
it.
you never, I mean, look at the studio. It's amazing. I got a chance to meet your lovely husband.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
And to you, I mean, it's like, it's a blessing. We bless each other.
That's it.
As we kind of go through life.
That's what we do.
And so to close the story, so his name is Zakai. He actually is mentioned, I write about him in my book.
You did?
I do.
Hold it. Let's
And-
do this.
Yes.
Can you zero in on that for me? Should I hold it in front of this camera? What's best?
Yeah, give me the other camera.
The other camera?
Yeah, right
We can do that.
Right there. Yeah,
Right there?
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really.
Make sure we get it 100%.
Yes. Yes.
And it's called Marked from Birth, the transformational journey from flawed to fabulous. And so it's based off of the birthmark. And I mentioned Zakai in the story. And I was able to have a Zoom call with that young man from Atlanta. And by the time I was done, his countenance was different. How he walked through life was so different. I spoke in a conference in Atlanta. I met him, his mother, his brother, and his grandmother at Chuck E. Cheese. And we played for hours, just me getting to know him, right? And so what if I hadn't answered that call?
Telling you.
You know, his life has changed.
Yes.
And I was to him what I didn't have. My parents loved me, and they supported me, and they said everything was fine. But I didn't have that person outside of them to say, "Hey, you know what? You're beautiful.
Yes.
Don't lower your eyes. Keep your chin up.
Keep it up.
You are unstoppable."
Yes.
This was a mark that is to help you, to develop you.
Wow.
And you're going to be known for that mark because you have been marked from birth.
I love that. So you know what, sis? Dr. Marcia,
yes.
my friend, my new friend.
Yes, yes.
You have embraced that birthmark. You have a voice you've created to talk about that birthmark. And look, she just shared a story about how she impacted because she was willing and open enough to share something a flaw that she thought would have hindered her life, to share it with somebody to propel them forward. A young man, a young person. So we never know, like you just said, whose lives we're going to touch and how bad they've just been waiting for it. Yeah. And you know what else? We don't have to look far. Right?
Not at all.
Sometimes, and I often say this, we get up each day and it's like, well, I want to go communicate with that person over there. Oh, and you're skipping 30 people to get to that person, and you've missed the mark that was ordained for you for that day, right?
Missed it. Even at church, I told you I was a first lady, and there are people who come to church and they say to themselves, because I've done it, I will come to Christ or I will ask for prayer if someone just sees me. If someone comes to me,
you hear that?
I will say what I've been carrying this last week or this last month.
Okay.
And those same individuals are sitting right next to you at your job.
Yes.
They're sitting right next to you standing in the grocery line.
That's right.
They're standing right next to you as you're pumping your gas.
That's right.
Right? They're standing right next to you in your friend circle.
That's right.
Okay? But you have to have the wherewithal. You have to have the insight to say, "Hey, how you doing?" And when they say, "Oh, I'm good," I'm very good at saying, "Are you?" And in that moment, they know that they've been, quote unquote, found out.
Yes.
And they might as well say, "Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm not doing so." I'm like, "Okay, we'll talk about it."
And then you've acknowledged them.
Yeah.
And you cared enough to go beyond them just saying on the surface, "Oh, I'm okay." You're engaging with them because you've looked into their eyes a bit and you're like, you're safe with me. Yeah. You can share a little bit more. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I want you to, because then I can share me, a little bit more of me with who you are. Oh my goodness. Wow. So where are we going from here? I mean, we said it earlier. All of these national accolades that you've gotten. And thank you for supporting the 2023 Super Bowl. You were a sponsor. You guys know that. I want you to understand fully. And I'm not giving accolades simply because of, merely, I should say, because of those national accomplishments. What's more important to me is for you to understand that the national recognition emanated because of a broken woman who decided that she wanted to embrace everything that was deposited in her from birth.
Yeah.
Irregardless of a birthmark. And like me, irregardless of a woman, a child, a girl who never knew her father. So I grew up like that. We can relate, and I'm so glad that we have aligned ourselves so that we can help continue to move on from this point. We don't know what the Lord would have us to do in partnering together. Whatever I can do for you, I will do it. My husband and I will do it. Using the studio, whatever it is. I guess I want to ask you, of course, without giving a name, but you shared about the young person who you met his family because you shared about your birthmark and how you felt it was ugly and it kind of shaped you as you were growing up. Is there any other woman in her 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s like you, 60s like me and beyond that you can recall that maybe you recently impacted? Whether they messaged you on the social media platforms or just pulled on you and said, girl, I gotta tell you something.
Yeah. So I want to speak to Zakai. He's the young fella, and I've gotten approval from his mom to mention him.
Thank you.
And
very good.
What happened after
Hi,
that?
Zakai.
What happened though is that after him being part of my book, and I had him and his mom on my summit, my Destiny Exposure Summit together.
Okay.
They ended up embarking on an entrepreneurial journey where they now have 3 books that they have now published. That young man is also autistic, and his mom was a special ed teacher, so she was able to notice some of the changes in him. And she has gone on a journey of now coaching other moms and has written a book, and Zakai has a book as well about his story. So that has already, their trajectory has changed because of our interaction, and they're now off to the races. But the question was something recent. I have a client who...
Congratulations, Zakai and Mom.
Yes. They're such a beautiful family. And the dad is so very present in their lives too.
Okay.
So I just want to shout him out as well.
Very good.
And so I have a client, and we actually did she was on my radio show week before last.
Okay.
And she is a mid-level manager. And she has muted her voice. And she has wanted to do details, but she didn't think she was good enough.
Okay.
And when I say muted, 8 years.
Wow.
She let other people go ahead of her, go ahead of her. And so we had...
That low self-esteem, it'll mess you up.
I had her on the show as to do live coaching. And this came up. And by the time we were done, because we went back to childhood and found out why she felt the way that she did. Her parents were always trying to shield her, and so the answer was always no.
Okay.
And so what we did is we changed that to she's able to turn her nose into a yes. Okay. And so she used that, and she went ahead and applied for the detail. But in the meantime, she went to the informational meeting and they were listing all of the requirements. And she was like, that's not me. That's not me. That's not me. So now she's feeling, she's right back to where she was in childhood, that I'm not good enough.
Wow.
And I coached her up to the place where she was like, you know what? I am the best person for the job. Even if I get this job or not, I still am qualified.
Yes.
And I'm going to let this energy roll over into the next detail that I apply for. Ooh. And we were like, yes, it was so good.
Yes.
But catch this.
That's what I'm talking about.
But that's not where the story ends. In 24 hours,
wow,
she got notified that she received the detail.
You know, you can't touch that. You just can't. But then again, you can touch it, because the power of your impacting someone to help promote them towards a greater level of self-belief, self-confidence, which really circles me all the way back.
It does.
To what we said the title of this show is. Things you can kill. Yeah. Things you must kill.
Must.
Things that must die.
Yes.
In order to reach your destiny. It's there.
Yeah.
But there are things that have to die, right?
Absolutely.
You've talked about them throughout the share with the interview today. So I want you to look in that camera, take your time, but I want you to, with your beautiful, I love it. I love it.
I love it.
Yes. But reflect on what it is that you, Dr. Marcia, would want to, a message you will want to leave with audiences around this world that is coming directly from you, that will propel them. You have to reach your destiny because you've been empowered today. Tell them the things, include those things that you know through your experiences. You had to kill them.
Yeah.
Take your
time. So for those that are watching this fabulous show, and I want to just shut out Toni for your tenacity,
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
push, just for you being able to lay out this platform in such a beautiful way. This
Thank you
excellence.
so much.
But there are those, and I noticed that we are successful women. Okay, I'm going to assume those are part of your audience.
Yes.
But even in that success, there are some areas that we don't do well. And what we do is that we don't like failure. So we try to stay in the lane that's going to lead us to success. And what that does, it leaves those other pieces of us undeveloped, unnurtured, and broken. And so in order to be whole, we have to go and fill the holes, HOLES.
All right.
Okay.
Oh.
And so as there's some steps or some, I'm gonna call them paradigms.
Okay. Paradigms.
So let's go through a few of some of the things you have to let go. Okay. One of the things you have to let go is perfection. Okay. When we're trying to be perfect, we have to stay in that lane where we're going to remain perfect, but we know that we are not, but it's the illusion that we're trying to maintain. Okay, it's okay to make a mistake. Okay, I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my successes. Okay, so and my paradigm is progress, not perfection.
Love it.
So we're letting perfection go. Okay, I didn't say let excellence go.
All right, that's it.
Okay, you do it excellently. You do the best that you can. But once you're at the end of that, then that has to be good enough.
That's right.
Okay? So the second thing that I believe that you must kill is that you have to kill the need for external validation.
I love it. You guys heard that. Kill the need for external validation. That's huge.
Yes. And let's add I'm going to add first, okay? Kill the need for external validation first, okay? We all need some external validation, okay? Right now, in your lovely dress that you have on, Toni, if you got up and you're like, oh, I look good, right? And then if your husband never said, oh, you look good today.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
It isn't, you're not waiting for him to tell you. But you have your self-validation first.
That's right.
And what
Wow.
he gives you is the gravy. It's the cherry on top.
That's right.
But a lot of us are walking around. Can we say BBL?
Ooh.
Okay. Can we say facelift?
Ooh.
Can we say all the things, right?
Go ahead.
We're we're looking for other people to validate us to make us look good or feel good.
That's it.
Okay. But when you validate yourself, it's okay to go and put on some makeup.
That's right.
Okay, because
That's-
I look good, but I'm just accentuating a few
Yes,
things.
that's
That's
it.
okay.
That's right.
But I'm not using that to make someone else now come to say, "Oh yeah, you look good."
Thank you.
Okay, so that's a second. So
You came to our studio looking good and feeling good.
yes,
And presenting
yes,
well. And that's what it's
yes,
about.
Yes, and people see that. People see that with you coming through the door. You don't have to say anything. One of the things I like to say is, I'm going to be the strongest energy in the room. And I can be silent.
I love it.
Look.
Wow. But I think I said that. Maybe in one of the last two shows that have been recently released. Yeah, one was about leadership. And the other one was about alignment. And you know what? I feel my strongest, though I'm a host and it's a voice right now, but I feel my strongest when I'm quiet, especially when I'm in a crowd of people. Because I learn more when I can just observe. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, you just gave me the energy of someone who's well known in this space. And you know who it is? You don't know. I'm going to tell you. Right just then, and you know how you don't realize someone looks like someone or they are channeling someone else. In that moment, and I'm co-signing the rest of the whole interview, is Lisa Nichols.
Come on. Oh my God. Say that again. Say that again.
Right now, I'm feeling that you are challenging Lisa Nichols' energy.
Wow.
The way that the power that you speak, the heart that you come with,
It's my heart.
and the experience.
I'm writing that down. And first of all, thank you. Second of all, that's such a confirmation. Because all I want to exude from Toni is my authentic self, my self-confidence that's founded on that measure of faith that I choose to believe in. And in spite of challenges, disappointments, brokenness, fears, worries, and doubts, I want to put them behind the faith. Because in order for me to align with you and to help all the women that we're charged to help, I can share all those things, but that's not what they need to see initially. They deserve to see some power. They deserve to hear some power. Because when we meet them, we want to lock them in.
Yeah.
We don't want it to just be temporary. We want them to follow us.
Yeah. And I want to add this, is that a lot of times we shy away from showing up powerful. But we forget that people want power. They want to know that you can help them. But in order to do that, we have to be walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yes.
And about the business that we say
Wow.
that we're about. Because people can sniff out fakes.
Oh, they can. Oh, they can.
Absolutely.
They can see it.
Yep.
It's like, wow. So we just have to show up and keep showing up the right way. And I love that you always show up the right way. And I know that you deal with the same things that I deal with. Lord, I got to get some gas in the car. Oh, boy, I got to go grocery shopping.
Yep.
I've got to do this. You have a son that plays basketball, right?
I do.
How's he doing?
He's doing well. We're starting a new season of AAU, which is a different team with different schedules. So I don't even know. As I was coming here, I was getting the dings for the games and things. So who knows what's going to happen, where I'm supposed to be.
See what I mean? Thanks for letting Mom come to our studio today. Thank you so much. What's his name?
Russ.
Russ? Mm-hmm. Hi, Russ. Thank you so much from John and Tony. Okay? But yeah, and the reason I ask you that is because I want people to know all the more that you're everyday people.
Absolutely.
Managing an everyday life like most of us. But that's why you're so eloquently being used. Thank you for giving me that shout out in that tangible moment of that comparison.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I will treasure that. And that will always give me something more. I'll never reach perfection, because I'll be dead by the time I reach perfection. But I will always strive like you for excellence and take what I do in the most excellent way and then lift it up to the only one that can put his perfection on it, right?
Absolutely. And I want to say that I was going through the Atlanta airport and I walked by a picture of Oprah, and it was like a ad. And you think of all
that's
the things.
That's my girl for life.
All the things that Oprah has done.
Oh yeah,
philanthropy and all these shows.
And I still believe I'm going to meet her.
And the thing about it is, I always say, I don't want to be Oprah, but I want an Oprah level impact.
That's what I'm talking. Oh, I love it. And I love how you just put that look. You back it up. You're backing that thing up. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I thank you for sharing that, because sometimes people will say, my mom used to tell me that I reminded her so much in my 20s and 30s and 40s that I reminded her of Oprah. And so when your mom tells you that, they know. So I could take part of the flesh and think, oh, I've missed the opportunity. Not so. Thank you for letting audiences know that you, Dr. Marcia, have created and are building a legacy with maybe an Oprah level of dignity and success and so forth. Yeah. But it has your name on it. And she will support that.
Absolutely.
We're going to have you back.
I would love to be back.
Thank
This has
you.
been an amazing experience, and it's good to connect. It's good to hear and to feel your heart. And that's what it's all about. If you don't, even if you go to the doctor, right? I'm sure you've all been to a physician or nurse practitioner, and you something was off. Yeah, you got the prescription. Yeah, you got the referral you needed, but it just wasn't like, it didn't feel good. But when you go into the doctor's office, or you have a life coach, and you're like, you know what? Oh yeah, I feel so great. I get so much out of it. I'm now so transformed, and I'm leveling up in my life. That's what it's all about, is having those touch points and helping someone else's life get better and enriching.
And I like that. And it's through hearts
Yeah.
connecting.
Yep.
Wow. I know that you all have been genuinely impacted with today's guest. We're going to have all of her information in the show. How would you like to be? What is your best way of being contacted?
Well, you can go to my website is www.drmarcia.com, and that's DRMARCEA.com. And if you want to reach out, you want to get a consultation, or you want to be a part of something I'm doing, you can just text me. My number is 410-705-7851.
Awesome. You want to definitely have her in your sphere. You want to be influenced. So, again, just thank you so much. We want you together just to say to you guys in the audience, continue to be tenacious and don't overlook people who are coming within just a few feet of you. That could be the very individual to change, not only for you to change and impact their life, but they're going to impact and change yours as well. Stay tenacious, and we'll see you next time.